left undone. Sayyidina Isa, alayhi salam, Jesus. And let's mention Yahya, John, his cousin, in this. Where do we find John and Jesus? Persecuted by the Roman Empire. You see a theme, don't you? And where do we find Khairul Baraya, the best of creations, alayhi afdal salatu wassalam, standing against the unjust oppressors in his time, fighting against the fundamental form of oppression in his time? In the Quran, you always find the people of God struggling against the fundamental oppression of their time, because that's what makes them the people of God. If it was about how much they prayed and how much they fasted, then why were they always standing toe-to-toe against tyrants? Do y'all reflect on this? The Messenger of God, alayhi afdal salatu wassalam, found a people who were cutting each other to ribbons over the tiniest offenses and burying their daughters alive. Oppressors. And some of us in this American Muslim community are still burying women alive. The misogyny is rampant in this community. He found a people who were tribalistic, had ethnic and racial superiority complexes, and he amended the affair. But where are we now? The anti-blackness in this American Muslim community is every bit as vicious as the Islamophobia towards this community. I faced more direct racial prejudice after I converted to Islam at age 15 from my co-religionists than I had in the white supremacist society that bore me. And if you ask any African-American Muslim, they'll tell you the same. You want the yoke of racism and oppression lifted from your people? Then lift it from your people. You want our affairs rectified? Then rectify our affairs. I said in 2020, after George Floyd was murdered, and many people in big, beautiful, air-conditioned suburban mosques said, don't go protest. I said, a day is coming where you will want my people standing next to you, but don't expect them to be there if you're not there for them in this moment. Well, where are we now, y'all? We are called to be the best ummah on the face of the earth. And that means we hold ourselves accountable for the injustices in our own ranks. We clean our own house before we go telling folks to clean theirs. If we want God to put any blessing and benefit in our affair, then we will remove the racism from our own community, remove the misogyny from our own community, remove the tribalism, the ethnic superiority complexes, all of it. Because this is what the messenger of God taught us. His last word to us was to say what? There is no superiority of black over red or red over black. And that was saying of black over white or white over black or vice versa. No superiority of Arab over Ajam or Ajam over Arab. And what else did he say? Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He said the best of you are the ones who are the best to the women. It's almost as though he knew we'd be out here wilding out in 2024, oppressing each other on ethnic, racial, and gender lines, and then being mad when people oppressed us. The African Muslim scholars who studied this seerah, people like Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba of Senegal, the author of no less than 200 books in the Arabic language, Some of them collections of as many as 200 poems praising the messenger of God, alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. Some of those poems containing no less than 5,000 lines of verse. Just do the math real quick. 200 times 200 times 5,000. This is one of history's greatest and most prodigious poets. He also led resistance against French imperialism in completely nonviolent form. And most of y'all are looking at me like you've never heard of him because you haven't. Because one of history's greatest Islamic scholars, renowned throughout Africa, is a name completely unknown in our community because our community does not pay attention to Africa. Our community does not pay attention to Black people, despite the fact that here in the United States of America, every single immigrant Muslim is farming in a field that Black Muslims cleared. Our ancestors were dragged to these shores saying, La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah. Their prayers are the only reason why this place is still standing. The only reason why the reckoning hasn't come due. But you, muhajirin, who have migrated here, have you honored the Ansar of this place? Those West African scholars, the ones that weren't dragged here in chains, they fought against that slave trade in West Africa. In my first book, The Walking Quran, I tell the story of how the first modern republic anywhere in the world to abolish the institution of slavery was in the Senegal River Valley, 1770. Abdul Qadir Khan issued an emancipation proclamation where he said that any person capable of reciting a single ayah of the Quran was to be immediately freed. Qaf is an ayah of Quran. He said that the Muslim that is to be protected from the indignities of enslavement is the one that says La ilaha illallah, even if she pronounces it Ra iraha irra. In other words, whoever even pretends to be Muslim, then the prohibition of Muslims enslaving other Muslims, I will use it to shield you from enslavement, period. You don't know this story either, because the colonizers have sought to conceal the emancipatory potential of Islam from you, to shield you from the weapon that is embracing our shared past as Muslims. Everything that I have to learn from the beauty of South Asian Islam, from the beauty of Yemeni Islam, from the beauty of Malaysian Islam, everything that you have to learn from the beauty of African Islam. Divide and Conquer 101. I don't have the time to lay out the litany of great West African scholars who put aside their books to fight against the principal evil of their time, white supremacy, imperialism, capitalist domination. It started with that slave trade, and in West Africa, they've been fighting it ever since. When I wrote those books about how West African Muslim scholars use the resources of Islam to struggle against oppression and tyranny, I was never expecting that God was going to write me into the story. I was never expecting that God was going to give me the opportunity to run on a presidential ticket that is designed to end the American empire now. My running mate, Dr. Jill Stein, said that her goal is to dismantle the American empire. No more forever war, not just in Palestine, not just in Iraq, not just in Afghanistan, not just in Central America. It means no more CIA assassinations of Patrice Lumumba or Muammar Gaddafi. No more regime change operations. No more destabilization of the entire globe. No more using the world as a toy to be played with, a mine from which one could extract whatever it wants, paid for in blood. I have been studying this tradition my whole life, organizing, doing activist work in our community. All that I ask of you in the way of political education is that you inform yourself about the moment that we are currently in and your opportunity to rise up not just against white supremacist Zionist genocide in Gaza, but rise up to take the reins of this American state, pull it back from the brink of destruction, and bring Muslims to a position of political, social, and spiritual leadership in this land that we just prayed would be blessed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Takbir. 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 Barakallah feekum. Wallahi, we wish we had more time, but inshallah, I'm going to ask them if they are free after Isha for a Q&A. But inshallah, we're going to have the adhan now and pray salah in just about 2 minutes, inshallah ta'ala.